Masechta Shabbos, Perek Vav, Mishnah Aleph, Bama Isha. Again, the Masechta is the Mishnah is going to be focusing on Hitzah, Bama Isha Yotza, Bama Ina Yotza. What may a woman wear outside, and what may she not wear outside? The Isser of Hitzah and Shabbos applies only where one carries the object by holding it in his hands. It doesn't apply to clothing or jewelry that a person is wearing, because they're considered part of him and not separate objects that he is carrying. Nevertheless, there are bonon asur wearing certain items outside on Shabbos because one might remove them and carry them dalad amos b'shus rabbin. The Mishnah lists items that a woman may not wear outside on Shabbos for that specific reason. So the Mishnah asks what she allowed to wear outside and what she not allowed to wear outside. So Zok the Mishnah, Leiseite Isha lebechute tzemar lebechute pishtan lebreturi sheberoisha. A woman may not go outside with strings of wool, strings of linen, or straps on her head. Women braided these three items into their hair for decoration. This is something that they always did. And this is because she may not be tovel herself in a mikveh while wearing these items until she loosens them. If a woman had to be tovel herself on Shabbos, she might remove these items from her hair completely instead of just loosening them and then carry them dalad amos b'shus rabbin. The Chacham therefore were geyser and asked the woman to carry these items outside on Shabbos. Now, the reason why there's a chash of asher terapim over here is because when a person is tovel, they can't have any type of chatzitza. And so if there's something that's attached to hers, or even if it's to him, there can't be any chatzitza. This applies on weekdays also. The Mishnah mentions it here to explain why women may not wear these items outside on Shabbos. So maybe she'll take it off before she's tovel and carry it. Maybe she'll take them off after she's tovel it. So to prevent this, the Chachamim made a general xera prohibiting all women from wearing these items outside on Shabbos. Fine. A woman may not go outside with a headband or head bangles if they're not sewn into her hat. Teitefes is like tefillin, it's a headband. There's a lashon of teitefes is tefillin. The Rav says that it's a headband that you tie onto the forehead and it goes from one ear to the other ear. Sanbutin are head bangles which were colorful ribbons or gold and silver decorations that hung from the headband down to her cheeks, probably in front of the, not legamri on the side, but closer to the front. And Zok Rav because they're chashav, they're special to her, she might take them off to show her friend and then end up carrying them dalad amos b'shus rabbin. This is also why she may not wear the following items listed in the Mishnah. The Isra of wearing a headband and head bangles, teitefes and sanbutin, apply only where they're not attached to her hat. If they are attached to her hat, she would have to remove the hat and uncover her hair to show them to a friend, since a woman would never uncover her hair in a b'shus rabbin, in a public place, so she's let her wear them because we're not choshesh that she's going to take it off. She may not go outside with a forehead pad. Was meint das? It was a chatzicha shel beged k'memet nefetz ktana shekosher neitzah lametzach v'neitzah neitzitz aleha k'dei shlo yazik hatzitz b'metzach upamim sheisha miskashetes ba b'lo yitzitz. So a lot of times the headband would be too tight or would cause pressure, and to alleviate that, they would wear some kind of padding under the headband, and sometimes it was worn by itself for decoration. Now, what's interesting here is that the Mishnah mentions Rishus Rabbin, which the Mishnah didn't mention by any of the previous items that a woman may not go out with on Shabbos. This is because a woman is forbidden to wear a forehead pad only in Rishus Rabbin, but she may wear it in a chatzar. By mentioning Rishus Rabbin only here, the Mishnah implies that all other items are forbidden even in a chatzar, and according to some, even in a chatzar that has an eruv. So the Chachamim made an exception in this case of this kavul or kful, because they did not want to prohibit all kishutim in a courtyard, and thus cause a woman to appear unattractive to their husbands. By character, still an Indian, Shaloi Lesser is called Takshitav, this guy Nal Baila, that she shouldn't, appear unattractive to her husband, and will cause Shalom Bayis problems. V'loi be'ir shel zahav v'loi be'katla v'loi be'mezomen. She may not go outside with the city of gold. It was a tiara of gold designed to look like the city of Yerushalayim. Rabbi Kiva gave one to his wife, as we know in the Gemara, had two Yerushalayim on it. Stam ir v'aisleis is Yerushalayim. And a katla is a choker, which was a band worn tightly around the neck to make the face look plump, which was considered attractive in those days, and not with nose rings, but earrings, you're allowed to go out with an earring, no problem. Earrings were not usher because they were not easily removed. Mashenkin, a nose ring, I guess, was easier to remove. And she may not go out with a ring on her finger that has no stamp on it for sealing letters. The Mishnah refers to a ring that's worn as jewelry. A woman is also to wear it on Shabbos because she may remove it to show her friends and carry it in Rosh Hashanah. A signet ring, which is a ring that has a stamp on it, will be discussed in Mishnah Gimel. It's a big shaila. That's exactly how it works. Or with a needle that has no hole in it for threading. The Mishnah refers to a needle that's sharp on one end and has a decorative gold bar on the other end. A woman would stick the sharp end into her hat. It was like these pins that people put in their hat, these pins with flowers on it that the women wear sometimes. And they would stick it into the hat and it would look like they're wearing this gold bar on their forehead. So even this kind of needle, although it is a tachshit, was also asur midrabanan because a woman might remove it to show a friend and carry it. But a sewing needle, which has a hole, is not considered jewelry, so even if it's stuck into a person's hat or clothing, it's still going to be asur to wear outside, as we'll discuss. But if she went outside wearing any of these things on Shabbos, she's not going to be mechuyev chatas. This is because wearing these things outside is mutter min haTorah, and they're only asur midrabanan. Bisman hazeh, when items of jewelry are common, women are unlikely to take them off to show others. For this reason, many places do not forbid women nowadays to wear jewelry outside on Shabbos. So, I mean, it's not that women don't like showing jewelry to their friends. They most definitely still do. It's just that we're not accustomed to taking them off in Rosh Hashanah in this way. Mishnah Beis. Lo yetzeh ha'ish besandal hamasumar. A man may not go out wearing a nailed sandals. What's a nailed sandal? So shall eitzu, it's made out of eitz, and they're held together with iron nails that protrude a little bit to hold it together. And it was asur on Shabbos and on Yantiv because of a story that happened. One time they were hiding in a cave because of the goyim. It was a tragic event. A group of people who were wearing such sandals were once gathered in a cave to hide from enemies, and they heard noises above the cave. They panicked, fearing that they had been discovered by the enemy, and they ran to escape. So there was a sort of a stampede, and many were killed because of the nails in the sandals. So to prevent similar tragedies, the Rabbanon asur wearing these sandals outside on special days such as Shabbos and Yantif when people get together. On Shabbos and Yantif, it's the time when people get together, so you're not allowed to wear this on Shabbos. It doesn't sound like it's a hoitzah issue. It sounds like it's a safety issue. It's a shmiras hanefesh type of issue. But because the story happened on Shabbos, they asur wearing this thing on Shabbos and Yantif. Fine. Or with only one sandal of any sort, if he doesn't have a wound on his other foot that prevents him from wearing two. Since he can wear both sandals, people will laugh at him for wearing only one, and he might take it off and carry it. However, if one foot is wounded, he has a boo-boo on his foot and he can't wear both shoes, no one will laugh at him, so he may wear just one. The lebet tefillin, and you don't go out with tefillin. Now, Shabbos, you don't wear tefillin, so what are we talking about? Right? But we're talking about, so it could be that if a person, it could be that the pshat is like this. That's interesting, I know. L'maisa Shabbos is not Zman Tefillin. Since there's no mitzvah to wear tefillin on Shabbos, so when he wears them is considered to be carrying. There are cases where a person could wear tefillin on Shabbos. We know that if a person finds tefillin, I might say tefillin last parak in Sefta Eruvin, if a person finds tefillin on the floor on Shabbos, so he has to pick it up, so he's allowed to bring it inside. Now, is tefillin muktzah? That's a shmuz. L'maisa, people use it for different, it could be used as sort of as like a mezuzah, like a kameya. So, and it could work as a shmira, so then there is a tzad, I believe Mishnah Berurah brings that you could move it. It's not muktzah. Or an amulet if it was not made by an expert. So it's complicated exactly what an expert means over here, because the Gemara, it is a very complicated Gemara, that a a mumcha is an expert in this context is someone who has already healed 3 people with his amulets, with these kameas. The sick person, the amulet of a mumcha is like clothing, but the amulet of a non-mumcha is considered a masay, so they can't wear it. V'loi b'shiryoin, v'loi b'kazda, v'loi b'magafayim. A man is not allowed to go out with a coat of armor, or a helmet, or iron leg plates. All these are zachin that are worn in mulchama. As in the case of the sandal hamasomer, there's no concern that he might remove these items and carry them. Nevertheless, people might suspect him of going over to mulchama, which is forbidden on Shabbos, except in case of emergency. So to avoid maris ayin, the chacham has to bring these items on Shabbos. But if he went outside wearing any of these items on Shabbos, he's not mechuyev to bring a chatas because these are only asur midrabanan. Mishnah Gimel. The previous 2 Mishnayos we discussed zachin that are asur midrabanan to wear outside on Shabbos. The next 2 Mishnayos we're going to discuss things that are asur min haTorah. So a woman may not go outside on Shabbos wearing a sewing needle that has a hole in it for threading. A needle that's used for sewing is not considered jewelry. So even if a woman wears a pinter or clothing, she will not go outside with it on Shabbos because in haTorah it's considered a masay. This term is used even for an item that's worn, even if it's not considered clothing or jewelry. Or a signet ring that has a stand for sealing letters. So it's considered a masay even if she wears it on her finger, since women generally don't wear this as jewelry. And not with a circular band around her head, which is some kind of tasha shaped like a large ring or a crown, which a woman would fit around her head. It's not considered clothing or jewelry because most women do not go outside wearing such a thing. She cannot go out with a kevelis as a spice container or a bottle of perfume hanging from her neck. A woman would hang these things from her neck to conceal body odors. So such an item is not considered clothing or jewelry and may not be worn outside on Shabbos. If she went outside, she is going to be mechuyev chatas because this is midaraisa divrei Rameir. As they zogt Rameir, since none of these items are considered a beged or a tachshit, so it's also to wear, so a woman is going to be mechuyev if she wears them. Although she's not actually carrying them, it doesn't pater her from the chiyuv because wearing these objects is the normal way of hitzah with these things. But the Chachamim say that she's pater min haTorah if she went outside with a kevelis or with a bottle of perfume hanging from her neck. And why is that? The Chachamim hold that when a woman wears things to smell better, it's considered as a tachshit, just like a kemeya. So she's not allowed to wear them only because of the dinu d'Rabbanan that she might remove them to show a friend and carry them in Rishus Rabbah. Since they're not asur min haTorah, a woman who wore them is pater from a chiyuv chatas. Chacham, however, agree that a woman who wears the other things listed in the Mishnah is going to be mechuyev chatas. Rameir holds that even things that are worn to make her smell better are not considered jewelry, and this is asur min haTorah to wear them outside on Shabbos. Fine. Mishnah Daled. A man may not go outside on Shabbos wearing a sword, or a bow, or a shield. Allah is a club, or a reimach is a spear. If he goes out with them, he's mechuyev chatas. Rebbe Lezer said that if a man went out into Rishus Hashanah wearing these things, he's not chayav because these things are attached. Because the pasuk says, the pasuk says in Tehillim, so it shows that it's a certain kind of tashit. Now, obviously, Rebbe Lezer holds that midrabanan these things you're not allowed to wear them because it looks like he's going to Mulchama. As we explained in Mishnah Beis, that's still going to be a problem of Maris Ayin. It's not a tashit. It's a disgrace. Why? The pasuk says in Yeshaya they shall beat their swords into spades and their spears into plowshares. The one nation will not lift up a sword against another nation, and they will learn war no more. This pasuk shows us that weapons are be'etzem, an undesirable item, and they cannot be considered jewelry. Therefore, if a man wears them in public, he's going to be chayiv. If a person obviously is living in a dangerous neighborhood, or he has to wear it for protection or whatever, then it's a different story. This is just wearing it as a tachlis, so then that he's not allowed to do. Fine. Biris tahira. A biris is a garter that a woman would wear to hold up their stockings. Is tahar, meaning that it can't become tameh. Because clothing can only become tameh unless it directly benefits the person wearing it. The benefit provided by this biris is that the person's not being netted from it directly, it's just holding up the stockings or the socks that they shouldn't fall. The Yetzim Baba Shabbos, and they could go outside on Shabbos because it's considered a beged. Meaning Lagabe Tum, it's not considered a beged, but Lagabe Shabbos, it is considered a beged. Because there's no chashash that she's going to take it off to show her friend since her stockings or her socks will fall off. So, Dilma Shalfa Umakvid Lemigali Shaika. She's going to be not going to be dressed properly if she takes them off, so she's not going to do that. Kvalim Tmeim. However, the chains that are used to connect the garters between the two of them are tameh, meaning that they can become tameh. The ein yaitzim hem b'Shabbos, and you're not allowed to go outside on Shabbos. So why are they tameh? Since it was a practice for the girl to connect the garters with the golden chain, the purpose of the chain was to prevent her from taking larger steps. So since these chains directly benefit the person who wears them by protecting a part of the body, they can become tameh. And a girl could remove the chain without disturbing the garters that are actually holding up her stockings, so then we say that it's aser the ein yaitzim b'Shabbos. Mishnah Hey. Yaitze isha b'chutei seir ben mishalah ben mishal chaberta ben mishal behema. A woman may go outside and enter Shus Rabim with strings braided into her hair that are made out of her detached hairs, regardless of whether the hairs are from her own hair, her friend's hair, or an animal's hair. It doesn't seem like it's a full shaitel, but it seems like there's pieces of a shaitel that are pieces of hair that are not attached to her head that she's sticking into her head. But the tefes of b'sanbutin b'zman shein turin. She may go outside into Rosh Hashanah with the headband or head bangles if they are sewn to her hat, as you mentioned earlier. But kabbalah b'pe'anachus l'chatzer. She may go into a chatzer with a forehead pad or a wig. The wig is the shaitel that the ladies wear today, lace top lace. So, Isha she'en lo roiv sar, a woman that doesn't have a lot of hair, lekechas sar noshma cherois, she takes hair from other women, u'masima b'roish, and she places it on her head, v'nirki lu sar, and it looks like it's her hair. But merich sheba ozna, she may go outside in her Shus Rabim with a cloth in her ear, or like a cotton ball in her ear to absorb the earwax, but merich sheba sandala, and a lining in her sandal to protect her foot from getting a blister or something like that, or a marriage that she prepared to catch the blood from her nida. So, since it protects the body, it's considered clothing. But pilpul, she's also allowed to go outside with a pepper in her mouth to overcome bad breath. I think I don't think people would find pepper breath so appetizing. Begarger melach, or a lump of salt in her mouth to heal a tooth disease, or anything else that she'll put in her mouth for these reasons, provided that she doesn't put it in her mouth on Shabbos in the first place. What does that mean? That she's allowed to go out with these things in her mouth only if they were placed there before Shabbos began. But if she put them in her mouth on Shabbos, someone who doesn't know that she has bad breath or a problem with her tooth might suspect her of using this method to carry them somewhere on Shabbos. Moreover, even if it was already in her mouth before Shabbos before Shabbos began and then fell out, she may not put it back in. Shein toy teves, v'shein shel zahav Rebbe matam v'chachamim meishrim. Rebbe permits her to go out with fake teeth and with gold plating on discolored teeth, and the chachamim aser. Why not? According to Rebbe, we're not concerned that one might take out the dentures of the fake teeth or the gold plating from the discolored tooth, because then you would see the mum underneath it. It wouldn't be nice. The Chachamim hold that since the fake teeth and the gold are noticeable and they may become embarrassed, so causing one to, so a person might remove them and carry them, and therefore we ask them for going outside on Shabbos. Okay. Mishnah Vav. Yaitzim b'sela shalatzinis, a woman may go out on Shabbos with a silver coin tied to a wound on the sole of her foot. The image, or the engraving that protrudes from the coin, the fact that it's made of silver, which generates moisture, and its hardness combine to heal and protect the wound. Since the coin is tied to the foot for refuah, it's not considered a masa, rather it's like it's like a beggar which may be worn on Shabbos. Young girls may go outside with threads or even with slivers of wood that are kept in their pierced ears to prevent their ears from closing. Girls would have their ears pierced when they were very young, but they wouldn't wear earrings until they were older. In the meantime, threads or slivers of wood were inserted into the holes to keep them open. The threads were decorative, so they were clearly considered like jewelry. And even the slivers of wood, which were not decorative, were also permitted because it was normal for young girls to wear them in their ears, and it wasn't something that they would take out because they would use it to keep the hole in their ear open. A Ravyos Yaitzos Reulos. Jewish women who come from Arabia may go outside with most of their face wrapped in a veil, as the local women do. Women in this Arabic places would wrap their head and face completely in a veil, leaving only their eyes uncovered. Since this is the normal way of wearing a veil in these places, so going out with it in this way is not considered carrying on Shabbos. Umadiyos Prufos, and Jewish women who live in Madai, I guess they're living there and they're currently living in Madai, not that are from there, or maybe if there's like a kvutza, then they're living elsewhere. They may go outside with the strap of one side of the cloak fastened to a round object that protrudes from the other side of the cloak, as the local women from Madai do. And in fact, any woman may go outside wrapped and buttoned in this manner, not just those that are from Arabia and from Madai. El Shadibru Chacham B'Hoiv, the Chacham mentioned the women who live in Arabia and in Madai because they discuss the usual cases. In the times of the Mishnah, these fashions were common among the women from Arabia and Madai. The Mishnah therefore discusses the women who live in these places. However, the same is true for Jewish women who live B'chol Asar V'Asar, anywhere where they may live. Perefes Mishnah Zayin. Perefes ala Evan v'ala Eged v'ala Matbea. So there are certain round objects that could be used as a button. So a woman may fasten the strap of her cloak over a stone, or a nut, or even a coin, and go outside on Shabbos. And no one will suspect her of using her cloak to carry these items on Shabbos because it's obvious that she's using them as a button. Provided that she doesn't fasten the strap over the coin for the first time on Shabbos. A coin may be used as a button on Shabbos only if it had already been used for that purpose before Shabbos began. Otherwise, it's muktzah, which would not be moved on Shabbos. Coins are muktzah. So if one had to use the coin as a button before Shabbos began, it's not muktzah because using it already made it non-muktzah. However, if one merely planned to use this temporarily as a button, but has not yet done so, it remains also, which may not be used for anything on Shabbos. Now, it doesn't mean that you're sewing. What it means over here is that you're attaching, that before Shabbos you have to attach the coin to the beggar to be used as a button. But if you didn't do it before Shabbos, then you can't do that. Okay, Mishnah Ches. Hakiteya yetze b'kav shaloi. Divrei Reb Meir, Reb Yosi Oisa. Someone whose foot was amputated may go outside on Shabbos wearing his false foot because it's considered like his shoe. As they zogt, Reb Meir. Reb Meir holds that a false foot is considered a shoe, even though the amputee doesn't use it for walking or pressing his weight on it, but moves about on crutches. Rabbi Yosi Oisa, Rabbi Yosi asks an amputee to go outside on Shabbos with his false foot because he holds it's not considered a shoe, because since he doesn't use it for walking, only to disguise his defect. As such, it's considered a masay. If the hole of the false foot has room for padding, the false foot can become tameh. If the opening of the false foot is large enough to hold not only the stump of the amputee's leg, but also a padding to cushion the stump, then it's going to be mukshal l'kabel tumah. It's made out of wood. The halacha is that kli eitz can only be mekabel tumah if it has a cavity in which something is stored and can be carried because it has a kli kibul. It doesn't have a mokum to be mekabel, so it's not going to become tameh. Therefore, a wooden foot cannot become tameh unless it has room to store and carry paddings. So moichel shaloi tameh in medrus. The knee pads can become tameh from hilchos medrus because they support his weight. The halachas of medrus, which being stepped on, says that if a zava, or a nida puts his or her weight on an object whose primary use is to support the weight of a human being, such as a chair or a bed, it becomes tameh with the same level of tumah as the person himself, which would be an abba tumah. So when one item transmits tumah to another, the tumah of the second item is weaker than the tumah of the first. In the case of medrus, however, the object that receives the tumah is just as tamei as the original source of the tumah. And knee pads are included in this halacha because they're intended to support the weight of the person who uses them. Since if he would be a zav, his knee pads would become an avat tumah just like him. So Meichai Shaloi Timei Medrus V'Yezim B'Shabbos, he needs to let with him outside on Shabbos because they're like clothing, because they protect his legs as he walks. And V'Nechnasim Behem Ba'Azara, and he's let with him into the Beis HaMikdash because they're not considered shoes. As we know, it's also to wear shoes in the Beis HaMikdash, even in the Chatzar. However, only something that's worn at the end of one's leg is considered a shoe. So knee pads, which are worn on the knees and the shins, are not considered shoes and may be worn in the Beis HaMikdash. His mobile chair and leg supports, which would be like crutches, would come from Hilchos Medrash because they support his weight. He may not wear the leg supports outside on Shabbos because they might fall off and be carried. Since the legs do not rest firmly on the ground, the leg supports can easily fall off, and he might carry them in a Rishus Rabbah. So Chachamim asked wearing these on Shabbos. However, he may use his mobile chair and crutches on Shabbos because they're like clothing, and there's no concern that he might carry them because he cannot move about without them. On Katman, Tehorin Ve'ein Yeitzim Mehem. On Katman, which are masks, cannot become tamei because they're not considered a kelim. And Ein Yeitzim Mehem Shabbos, one may not wear them outside of Shabbos because they're not considered clothing. Hopefully we're all familiar with the famous picture of Dan Katman in the picture Mishnayos drawn by Reb Yoni Gerstein. Did a great job. I think some people are still scared of it. Adayam Hazeh. Okay, have to go to therapy to deal with that. With Tarf design, or just to read the Rav. The Rav says that in parts of Adam, it was like a mask it was like the form of a face. Mishona, shemesimin alapanim, that they were weird on their faces. Lahabis bayat tinoikos, to scare the children. Pirush Acher, another pshat is Chamor Shahaletzonam Eizav Neizim Eitzal Kisveyam. It was some type of donkey costume that they would wear and jump around it. So it's not considered Kli Tashmish, and it's not a Tachshit, so it's Ein Yeitzim, and you can't go out to it on Shabbos. Mishnah Tes. Habanim Yeitzim Biksharim, young boys may go outside on Shabbos with laces tied to their arms. There was a minik in the olden days. Ben Sheyesh L'Gagul Malavev, a son that will not be able to bear the father's departure, would take his right shoelace and tie it to his son's left arm. And people thought that as long as the lace was tied to the boy's arm, it acted as a charm to remove his yearning for the father. Since the string is made for a fool, it's considered like a tachshit which may be worn on Shabbos, and it could be like a kameya by a mumcha, which is mutter. Ubnei Melachim, it was like a segula. And dafka by banim, because she'ein lebanis gagum alavin koyabanim, daughters don't miss their fathers as much as the sons do. The sons have a good relationship with their father, I guess. So, I call upon him, that's the halach. Ubnei Melachim bezugin. Princes may go outside on Shabbos with decorative bells sewn onto their clothing. The bells either have no clappers inside or are plugged up so they cannot ring. If the bell can ring, then it's Isra of Hashmas cut. Now really anybody can go outside wearing a bell. The Chacham were talking about the usual circumstances that who normally wears a bell, the princes do that. Such bells are mutter because they are decorative, it's a tachshit. However, they must be sewn onto the garment, otherwise they will fall off, or the person might take them off. Mishnah Yud. Yotzim bebeitas hachargol. The person will go outside on Shabbos and wear chargol's egg, which heals earaches. The egg of a chargol is one of the 4 minim of grasshoppers listed in Parashat Shmini, which is hung from a person's ear to heal earaches. Ubashen shul, and a fox's tooth which solves sleeping problems. People who had insomnia would wear the tooth of a dead fox to help them fall asleep, and people who were excessively sleepy would wear the tooth of a live fox to keep them awake. I guess the fox's teeth affect sleep. Now those state the mission, what are you going to do? B'masmim and atzalov, or a nail from the gallows of somebody who was hanged, which reduces the swelling of wounds. Mishum refuah, if he wears them in order to be healed from these maladies, divrei Remeir, he's allowed to go with these things. After someone was executed by the court, his body was hanging on the gallows before it was buried, and people would take out a nail or a stike, which was driven into the gallows to keep the corpse from falling. They would take that out, and that would heal it would heal swollen wounds. Rambam Pirusha, Mesimin Esa Betavar Mishesh Lekadacha Shlishis Virpeenu, certain kind of fever, that if you put it on the neck of a person who had this kind of fever, it would make it go away. So you state the Rambam, it's Gemona Doctor. So that's it. As I Dr. Meber, the Chachamim say, Af Bachol also B'Shem Darkei Ameri. Chachamim say that wearing these items are forbidden even on a weekday because of the issur of following the Ameri. So these are metaphysical remedies which came from the superstitions of the Amorim who lived in Eretz Yisrael before they were Kaddish Eretz Yisrael. So all these kinds of remedies are forbidden under the issur of Chukei Seim Leiselechu. According to Rameh, however, any medical remedy that doctors consider effective, such as those listed here, are not included in the issur. Now, there's a big shmur. What's nichlal and Chukei Seim Leiselechu? How exactly do you define Darkei Ameri? Schoolless Bizman Hazeh? Does it have a makar? Does it not have a makar? Is a makar good enough? Do we do schoolless? Do we not do schoolless? But the Nekuda is, Rabbi Yonason, David Shlita always says about schoolless, there used to be an Am Segula, now it became an Am Shel Segulus. But Ein Segula Katoira, the best Segula we have, is what made us an Am Segula, which is the Torah Akdesha, which by all means works, and Tefillah works as well. So let's not give up on the segulas that we had. We might have the proper way to do the hishtadlus that we need to do if someone needs a Yeshua. And Klal Yisrael should be zeichet to refuahs and Yeshua's rekorev mamash. Amen.